How much work should you put into an individual video? Now that's a different question to the is it worth doing a channel at all question. In fact, I've just done a video about that and I think my answer is yes. I think. I'll get back to you. So it's worth working on, but your channel consists of individual videos. And my question is, how much work should you put into each of those? Now I'm new to this YouTube game, only a month in, and already I'm trying to figure out how to cut corners. Because here's what I've learned so far. If you want your channel to succeed as a business, you have to keep uploading. 1 video per week or more. The infamous algorithm demands it. And you should make your videos as entertaining and as professional as you can. In fact, I think the creative joy comes from incrementally improving every aspect of your production, your writing, your filming, your presentation. But the effort that you put into a single video, I'm thinking specifically about a video I shot last week called Ignore the Algorithm, Talk to Me. Now, you don't have to watch it to appreciate what I'm talking about. In fact, if you've posted videos yourself, you may well recognize this. The video, I don't know, it didn't fully live up to my expectations, but I think that's quite common because when you write something, you visualize the result in your mind and then you have to create it to match. And that's quite a hard thing to do. And as a newbie, albeit a rather old newbie, I started to take on board the advice of content creators, many of whom teach you how the algorithm works or what it demands from you if you want to succeed. And the truth was slowly dawning on me. The success of your videos depends on, 1, your thumbnail. If that doesn't grab attention, nothing will. Your thumbnail is the book cover that jumps out at you in a 2 billion bookshop. I'm not really sure that's a great analogy. 2, your title. Your title just has to be brilliant. It has to solve whatever problems your potential viewer needs solving, even if they don't yet know they have a problem. It has to be something like, watch this video, only, more subtle than that. And 3, your hook. Assuming 1 and 2 has done the trick, the film opens on something that will compel them to stay and watch. It can't be like the start of a movie. Well, I mean, it can. If you do it properly, but there can be no lingering aerial shots following a car as it winds its way down an Italian hillside. It has to be straight in. It has to say, watch me as I teach you something that will make your life a zillion times better than it is now. Or words to that effect. In other words, I was getting a bit down about the entire project because unlike TV, where you can be transported to various worlds in drama or documentary or real life, in present day or back in time or whatever, YouTube seems to be about people yelling at you that they can teach you to yell at other people and become as successful as them. And I thought, surely there has to be more to it than that. And of course there is, but even if you find a way to cut the yelling, you still need the thumbnail, the title and the hook. And you still need to dance to the algorithm. So, that was when I came up with the idea of Ignore the Algorithm, Talk to Me. And I found the idea really quite exciting. I started to wonder even if I'd found my niche, or was at least closing in on it. And it struck me that the algorithm didn't have to cancel out making films for real people. In fact, I think the two complement each other. One should look at the algorithm as your friend. The algorithm is fundamentally your sales department. But once that sale has been made, the thumbnail and the title have done their jobs, you're left with a product, and that has to be good. But how good? In other words, how much effort do you need to put into that product? And that brings me back to Ignore the Algorithm, Talk to Me. Not that you'd know much work went into it at all. I need to be 100 times better if I'm to make this thing work. But it was a start. It was a germ of an idea. And yet the very nature of having to do it put me off. Far easier to stick to a couple of coloured lights behind me and talk to the camera. I had this idea of shooting with 2 cameras. As a content creator, the film opens with me talking to my phone. But then I cut away to a second camera, one that in theory I didn't know was there. And it seemed to me a great idea. And I started to think this could become my regular style. And then it came to me that having a third camera would make a really good ending. And then, of course, came the problems. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very lucky in that here at the top of the house, I have a studio office thing and it's all mine to use but it isn't really very big. So I was amazed when I started making videos at all last month that I could find anywhere that would offer a moderately decent background. But now I needed 3 backgrounds, 3 cameras, lights, microphones, and me in the middle. So I had stands and tripods all over the place, and working out which lens would work, that was difficult too. The second camera needed to be wide enough to show me when I was standing up, but closer in most of the time. So I shot in 4K in order to crop in, and that was okay. And I used a 25mm lens. But I didn't have another wide-angle lens for the third camera, so I used my old DJI Osmo. And then it occurred to me that because of its nature, the entire thing would need to be done in one take. There could be no auto cue or even notes because they'd be seen. So that meant learning 2 pages of lines. Now, I was an actor, and in fact I still do a few small jobs, mainly in television these days. Now, in the good old days, if you had an audition, you'd go into town, meet the casting director. These days, it's all done online. You have to do what they call self-tape. You learn the lines, you shoot the scene, and then you send in the results, knowing full well you'll probably never hear anything back from them. And this shoot was going to be a little bit like doing a self-tape. You know, I had to learn to operate the camera from the wrong way round for a start. And for an audition, you're given a deadline, but for your own YouTube channel, you create your own deadline, and it's very easy just to put things off. You know, I was originally going to shoot on the Tuesday, but simply didn't know the lines well enough. So I rehearsed on Wednesday and then brought in a couple more lighting stands, a few more lights, rearranged some tripods, and in the end, I recorded on the Thursday. But there are so many things to do, things you wouldn't really think would take time, and they just make you appreciate actually what others put into their videos. You know, I had to iron my shirt, sort out the audio. I just bought a Hollyland Lark 2 for my iPhone, but when I put the phone into its cage, the Hollyland couldn't access the USB-C, so I had to order an extension. And I figured I'd just use my Sony radio mic and sync everything up later. I stuck the wire inside my shirt, and that's always harder than you think. And of course I was worried that I'd get rustle from the shirt, and there's no way to monitor this during the recording, so you just have to trust that everything's okay. Of course, I forgot half the lines, usually halfway through the script, and so you have to start again and just hope that eventually you get it right. Now it wasn't too complex, and I'd identified the various sections of script. There's a bit where I stand up to answer my phone, and I needed to be careful not to reveal the scene as, well, you know, I wasn't really on a call. And the call itself, of course, well, I play the part of Alan, the bloke on the other end of the phone, so I have to react to what he says and try to get the timing right for the pauses, which I didn't, so I had to change the caller's lines in post-production. And it's always fun when it comes to the edit to add the sound effects, the phone call, etc. But for YouTube, you have to be very, very careful that anything you use is copyright free. And I figured that using my actual phone for the ringtones couldn't breach any copyright laws. I've always known that if you feel you need to add something to your edit, but you know it's just going to be a pain to do, it's always worth doing in the end. And when it comes to scripting, I've started to think about cutaway shots to various locations. And I know these will make the video far, far more entertaining, but they'll also add a lot of time. And if you have to knock out videos at the rate of 1 or 2 a week, time is limited. And I'm tempted to dress up this wall behind me here. I considered building a window just here. You know, a basic window frame with a green screen behind it, maybe some curtains so that I could change my location for every film. You know, London, Paris, New York, or I could have passers-by knocking on the glass or looking in through the window. Entire scenes, in fact, could take place behind me without me seemingly knowing about them, simply to entertain the audience. But it's extra work. And I know it's worth it. I know I should go out and grab some shots, move the camera around, learn lines, or find ways of delivering lines in smaller chunks. But it's tricky. You know, how much work you put into an individual video is totally up to you. And if, like me, you have about 6 views, is it worth it at all? On the other hand, if I do make the effort, maybe the views will rocket up to double, even treble figures. I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And whatever else you do, make sure you subscribe, because if you don't, you'll never get to know what happens in the end. And that can't be a good thing. I mean, I really do hope that we stay together.